Each of you are requesting a budget appropriation, in many cases to provide lower tuition rates. We spent this morning with the Chancellor of the state system, the struggling state system. So Penn State's asking for $343 million, Pitt $173 million, Temple $162 million, and Lincoln $17 million. And then, and this thought came to me as I was listening to the discussion, Penn State's branch campuses have tiered tuition rates. And my question is, as everyone is vying for state dollars to lower tuition rates, and we have a struggling state system, are we creating unhealthy competition between the state-related universities and the state system? Your thoughts?
So I think broadly about access and affordability initiatives in terms of those costs. We right now have had 3 tuition freezes in 5 years for in-state students. The state appropriation over that same period of time has been sub-inflation. My tuition rates have been sub-inflation. It is now cheaper to go to Penn State in real dollars today than it was 5 years ago. At the same time, my costs, if I think of the state retirement system, I'm the only institution here that is in the state retirement system as a matter of law. In 10 years, it's gone up $100 million, about 1% of tuition increase a year. Yet we've managed to stay sub-inflation on our revenues from the state and sub-inflation for our revenues for students. So we spend a lot of time cost cutting and looking for efficiencies. It is hard when your costs are going up $60 to $80 million a year just on the basics for us to continue that particular process. And we have a couple of ways out. We can do it philanthropically, which we're working really hard at. I gave you a number. The state can provide additional resources. Right now, Penn State has the lowest student funding from the Commonwealth of any institution that you support by a considerable margin. And whatever you give me, I more than double in a discount compared to out-of-state tuition. So in my mind, this really does serve to benefit the residents of the state of Pennsylvania. 70% of my students are from the state of Pennsylvania. I work very hard at every campus not to go out and get out-of-state students to cover the shortfalls. So this really does translate into a more affordable education for our students. But unfortunately, Pennsylvania also ranks, depending on how you do it, 48th or 49th in its support of higher education. It's very hard for us to manage those costs and the growth of those costs without more support. But I just want you to know, every dollar you give us is going straight into the hands of students in one way or another.
So I'll ditto all the good things happening at Pitt on that, but I heard you asking a policy question that I think is actually really important. And I would say my general answer is yes, you should be worried about this. That I think the most crowded segment of Pennsylvania's market is in smaller campus, geographically dispersed campuses, whether that's PASHE, Pitt's regional campuses, Penn State. Frankly, the community colleges are probably competing in some of that space, and then, of course, a lot of privates. And the number of college-age students that have, to draw from in these catchment basements is shrinking. We have not seen the full decline yet. That's 2026, right? Because the fertility rate dropped in 2008. So we're getting our first glimpses, and it's pretty ugly, right? I mean, you can see the enrollments going down. I think what's hard to do is, how do you optimize? I think you're asking the right question. Given the state's mix, how do you allocate most effectively to preserve two things? One is, this was touched on, if the state doesn't have economic opportunity to grow and attract businesses and jobs, we're going to see the worst aspects of this demographic decline.
Right.
And the states right around us are competing like crazy to pull the best students out of Pennsylvania. So you want to do that, compete hard. We want the best brains coming here. We want to grow stuff here. The second one, though, is really given whatever new economies are coming in here, whatever economic opportunity we create, how do we make sure that people living in the Commonwealth have the opportunity to participate in that new economy? And that's really where these other campuses play a critical role. It's all about providing that broad base of access. I would say, you know, we've said this before, but we would welcome the opportunity to work with you on that question. It's a little hard for us because it goes across systems. But I think it's probably going to be one of the central questions that the Commonwealth faces over the next few years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know I'm out of time, but I do think, as Chancellor Greenstein said this morning, it's going to take all of us working cooperatively to get this, find a solution for all these issues. And I think that includes the state system and the state related. So thank you.